Welcome to the Wolf Connection podcast. I'm your host, John Kalfa. Let's talk about some wolves. On this episode, we have with us via Zoom the site administrator, and he's a lot more than that, of Phoenix High School in Lancaster, California, and a pivotal part of the Wolf Connection programs here with the at-risk youth, J.R. Chatman. J.R., first of all, how are you doing over there? It's been a while since we've seen each other. How's everything going?
Oh, everything's going great. Thank you. Family's good. The school, most of my students are doing great. And we just miss being a part of Wolf Connection during this time.
Yeah, man. We totally miss you guys. And it's, like you said, it's just been sort of a weird, goodness, it's probably been 6 months already now. And I wanted to have you on just because you're such a pivotal individual really in this partnership that's Wolf Connection and with these programs. I want to get some background on you. So how did you get started in education up in Lancaster? How did that all come to pass?
Well, I've been in education for about 25 years now. I come from a family of educators. My father and grandfather were both teacher, principal, and I chose to do a different route and tried to chase sports. And through having injuries and whatnot, I began to realize and understand that my purpose in life is to share my experience and inspire those that are not inspired. And I found that through education. I started substitute teaching in the Palmdale School District in 94, 95, and just fell in love with it. It's natural. It's something I've always loved to do, is working with kids and helping people. And it became my new passion.
It really shows when you show up and all the kids and the bond that you have with the students, because I know there can be sometimes a lot of turnover. Explain to some of the people who are listening now that aren't familiar with what really Phoenix High School is and the type of youth that you typically work with on a semester and yearly basis.
Okay, Phoenix High School, it is an alternative school. Most alternative schools are for kids that are behind on credits, not necessarily kids that have found trouble in life. Phoenix High School is a community day school where all of our students are expelled, coming out of jail, out of placement, on house arrest. And so we're the transition school to get them back on track and hopefully either graduate them from high school, get them back to an alternative setting where they can make up the last of their credits and graduate, or get them back on track and get them back on a main campus where they can participate in sports and activities and graduate with the rest of their class.
So being an alternative school, what drew you to go to that? Because like, as you just stated, you come from a long lineage of educators and inspirational individuals who want to help people. So you were in Lancaster, so what brought you to Phoenix and believed in that mission to help these young men and women?
So at the time, I was working at Little Rock High School as an administrator, and the high school district gave me a call and just said, hey, we need a lot of help at one of our alternative schools, Phoenix High School, and we need to get some things in order, and your name's been thrown around the pot as one of the individuals that can help us do that. And we'd like to see if you're up for taking on the challenge. And obviously, that's the population I love the most, is the at-risk youth. And so I love the idea of being able to go in and have the district support me doing things outside of the box, so to speak. And that's kind of been my entire teaching career, is doing things that are outside of the norm. The norm doesn't work, which is why the kids are in the situation that they're in. And so it was really good to have a district support me in my creativity.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. That was, to me, it's when I was reading the mission statement of Phoenix, because I was doing a little research on it before we spoke. And it's interesting how do you see a shift where you see a lot of schools moving towards an alternative method of teaching and inspiring and trying to help shape the youth more so, I guess, up in the Lancaster, Palmdale, Acton area where we're located, and you think that's sort of percolating out, that you can see, and maybe into other parts of California?
I think one of the things that education is realizing is that the traditional methods aren't working. It's kind of like being a parent. If you don't grow with your child, then your child, the relationship that you have with them, um, it dwindles, and they begin to rely on their peers instead of you as a parent. And so in education, we've got to grow with the times. And in this day and age, kids, the old drill and skill and being an authoritative figure, it doesn't really fly with today's population. And so if I think education is realizing that, and they're exploring different avenues. But my opinion is that we definitely have to invest in these families and give our parents the knowledge and education to be able to support and hold their kids accountable. Most parents are really afraid of the potential lawsuits and DCFS and all these things. They've got a lot of excuses why I can't be a parent. And so it's important for us to arm them with the education and the legal know-how so that they can be the best parent possible.
It seems like you would take that challenge head on. Being a former athlete, I know that I have that same sort of drive. If there's sort of a challenge in front of me, I want to hit it head on and be creative and figure out a way to do it. Is that how you approach this job that you're in? Is that you look at it as this challenge and you take it in, and you really want to, obviously you really want to help, but you take that on a personal level. You want to really be on top of it and changing people.
Absolutely. And it starts with really showing an interest in who they are as people and letting them know, being vulnerable enough for me to let them know who I am just as a person, and that, I've got a family and children, and I've got, my own struggles and obstacles that I have to overcome. And once they see you as someone that's, man, they're a real person, they're not just a principal or an educator, then they'll peel back some of those layers of the onion and let you know more about who they are. And once I can understand where they're coming from and what they've been through, then we create a bond, and we can develop a level of trust where they're willing to try new things to get a different result. And that's what is most important before we can really even get to the education aspect.
Absolutely. And I think now that ties beautifully into where we're going to go next, is that how did you first hear about, because of Phoenix being an alternative school in terms of teaching, how did you hear about Wolf Connection, and what was it that brought your attention to the program and thought it could be a good fit for the students and some of the staff at Phoenix in particular?
The first year that I was at Phoenix back in 2008, 2009, there was a young lady named Jan Madema, and she's was a volunteer out at Wolf Connection, as well as she was in charge of safety and risk management at the district office. And she came up with the idea that it would be wonderful to expose some of the at-risk youth to an environment like Wolf Connection, because it's very therapeutic. And so she did what she needed to do as far as funding to kind of pilot the program for Phoenix High School. And at the time, we had two Phoenix campuses, one in Palmdale, Phoenix South, that was run by Mr. Tom Grady, and the North Campus, which I ran. And that's how we got started with Wolf Connection.
So when you bring a program like this to the district with some help with someone on the inside at the time, what's the initial feedback you're getting from the district, from staff, even from students? If you're posing it to the students, how does that go over in that first presentation, saying, we want to bring you out to this area and work with this specific animal?
As far as the district is concerned, they were kind of optimistic, but kind of leery at the same time. Anytime we bring kids off campus to a program labeled Wolf Connection, wolves have always had the bad name. It was a bit of a challenge getting them to fund it. And so Jan worked really hard at finding funding for the first 3 or 4, well, really 2 to 3 years until we started to see some real results from the kids. And as far as the kids are concerned, what I did was I challenged the kids, like always, to better themselves and to grow as young men and women. And so I explained to them that Wolf Connection is a program that not only do you get to get off campus, but you're going to get to learn a side of yourself that you never knew through the eyes of the wolves. And then we had Wolf Connection come out and share the stories of the different wolves and that they have on the facility. And the kids, it was amazing to see how they connected with some of those stories, whether it be abandonment, abuse, neglect, that sort of thing. All those are experiences that, a large percentage of my population have experienced. And so from there, I had each of the kids kind of share their own personal story that they connected with the wolves. And then what I do is I interview the kids to make sure that they're going to Wolf Connection with the purpose of making growth and identifying those weaknesses so that we can build on them and make them strengths. And so from there, we've always been able to take a group of kids that are motivated from the start.
Because I've done a few of the presentations with Amanda, who's our director of programs, and I love the process of really putting the onus on the youth, which is an interesting idea. It's like you said, there's a whole process of getting the students on board with really what this experience is going to be like. And it's no school. I've never had a school program when I was a kid where I could go off into the wilderness and, work with any animal, let alone a wolf, which would have been amazing back when I was in school. So it's such a unique opportunity. And in those early years, what were some of the benefits you were seeing in those first couple of years when you were bringing these kids out?
The number one benefit was the fact that the kids just took time to listen to their own breathing. We live in a society where everything is such fast paced. They never even take the time to pay attention to their heartbeat or how they breathe. And watching them go up to Wolf Connection and do the meditation and sit there in silence. It was something very, very difficult for them to do because they're surrounded by noise from the time they lay down at night to the time they get up in the morning. And for them to be able to pay attention to that and understand how the wolves, 90% of their communication is nonverbal, and it opened their eyes up to a whole new world that they weren't used to. And so that was one of the first things that really got their attention. And they would talk about it at Wolf Connection, and then they would come to the school and we'd have conversations at the school and reflect on how powerful that was. And that was the first thing that definitely caught my attention.
When you're seeing this interaction, how did that change the interaction with the students and you and the students inside of Phoenix? How did the relationships change in terms of the everyday going to class and meeting up and things like that?
Well, I made it very clear to the kids that once we go up to Wolf Connection, the groups that I take, we're our own wolf pack. And my expectation is for them to take what they've learned at the facility, meaning Wolf Connection, and bring it back to campus and apply it in their everyday lives. And I held them accountable for that. So, when they came back to school, the expectation is that they would take those wolf principles, whether it be give 110% to everything they do, be perfectly comfortable with who they are, and everybody plays a role. And so I expected them to not only display those characteristics, but also share with the students that are not a part of the wolf pack so that they can lead by example. And over time, what we found was that the packs or the groups of kids that we took, they had the power to really change the culture of campus overall. They were communicating with kids outside of their circle, which is unheard of on a campus like mine. And they were pulling kids in and having conversations and sharing their experiences. And And that's something that's very different from the norm as far as the population that we serve.
What do you think led to that? Was there any particular point where you were saying, was there a point, along this journey that you've been on, because you've been with us for so many years, where you said, wow, I can see this shift happening? Or what was sort of the key moment that you saw where things were starting to shift or change?
The biggest change is when the kids come to the realization that it's okay to be different. Society kind of pushes us into a pocket of trying to be like someone when we don't have our own identity. And Wolf Connection helps support me in trying to teach the kids that, you have to define yourself in life. And if you don't define yourself, then we find ourselves trying to be like others, and we end up lost and unhappy with who we become. And so Wolf Connection definitely, through conversation and example and a lot of the activities and the hikes and just the social interaction on the level that Wolf Connection provides, it gives those kids a sense of identity and comfort in as far as being their own individual instead of striving to be like someone else. And that's where we gain the biggest traction as far as turning some of these kids around, is that, you know what? I'm going to be this. I don't need to be like that. And that's huge.
So when you go back and you're bringing these results back to whoever it may be, the higher ups in the schools and the districts, things like that, how did those conversations start? Did those conversations shift even more to the positive when you were, after the first 2, 3, 4, 5 years? How did those conversations start to shift that you could see from your end as a site administrator and as a vice principal as well?
The most difficult thing at the district level is the majority of the time they look at numbers, and numbers don't always measure growth. And so for our students, like grades, for example, a kid may come to us with an F in science. That's 34%. Well, here at Phoenix, he's now at a 59%. That's a huge growth for me. He still may not be passing, but that kid has made a tremendous amount of growth from where he was and where he started. And so the first thing was to, the first bit of data that I was able to share at the district that caught their attention was that 4 or 5 years into the program, we started to realize, like, hey, we've sent, 150 kids through this Wolf Connection program, and I've only had one be a repeat offender as far as getting expelled or sent back to Phoenix. That speaks volumes, and then that's what caught their attention. And then we began to look further into credits earned, and it was a combination of, the program to support students at Wolf Connection as well as the programs that we have at our site. And we noticed that kids went from earning an average of 11 credits a semester to 41 credits a semester. And those are all, incredible gains as far as kids are concerned. And the district started to get praise for supporting the programs that we were running. And that's where we started to get more and more buy-in. And they started looking at how can we get this to other campuses. And so that's how the idea of trying to get it to Desert Pathways, or not Desert Pathways, but Desert Winds and RX Paris, and just branching the program out from there.
It's amazing too how when you put it in the number aspect of it, but you can see, I'm sure you being on site all the time, you're seeing this growth happen. What were some of the things you also saw? Because we see the wonderful staff that comes here too, and they're just as dedicated almost as the students. What did you start to see with some of the staff and the teachers that would come to and follow the program for the full 8 weeks and then go back? Was there any difference in the teaching, in the interaction with the students as well from the staff end of it?
On the staff's end, I think the staff really appreciated having the opportunity to go and participate in And the students really appreciated having staff come out and see them in a different environment outside of away from some of their peers and negative influences. And so on campus, what I saw was staff kind of find a greater level of comfort as far as communicating and interacting with the kids, simply because they learn more about the kids, and the relationships between students and staff grew tremendously. And now we treat all the kids like family, but now they feel like family because we've been able to get to know them on a different level, and the kids have more respect as a result.
How key is that, just going forward, as really as a school community, for that to be the norm and not the exception when you see that kind of relationship start to build?
Oh, you got to have it. I mean, it's essential. It's something that you have to be able to reach today's student. There's a lot of teachers that are really good at very knowledgeable in subject areas, very, textbook, but very few teachers have the skill and the ability to be able to connect and build those important relationships that give you the solid foundation to build on. And so moving forward, I'm a huge fan of really building the communication between teachers, students, and parents, and getting the teachers to break the traditional methods of reaching kids, and understanding that it's the relationships that give you the ability to do what you love to do, as opposed to, this kid can't be in my class because he makes too much noise. Well, there's a reason he's making noise. Mm-hmm. And so we've got to get to why they're making noise and why they're being a disruption before, we can say that the kid is not worthy to be in class. So build that relationship, you'll earn that respect, and it's that kid that's making noise that will always have your back as an educator, and they'll manage the class for you, and that's what I've learned.
When you've come here personally, what have you noticed in yourself that's changed since you've been in this position, you've been in this beautiful place of service for over 2 decades? What's something that you've seen shift in yourself when coming here and being in the programs and being with the Wolves? What's sort of switched in you or changed in you that you've noticed over the years?
I think emotionally, we're all making growth constantly. I've never been the person that has the mindset that I know everything or that there's nothing that I could learn. And it's made me more aware of my surroundings. It's made me learn to appreciate the little things, or maybe some of the esoteric things that most people don't pay attention to. But it's the little things that give me calm, that give me comfort, and give me something to appreciate. And that's what I've gotten from Wolf Connection. And it could be the little things and people and their personalities, their character traits, how they carry themselves. And it's also given me the opportunity to always see the good in what's in front of me.
When you take these little, and you're right, because you said this, I think a few minutes ago, is that it's just the little nuances and the little steps that people take, and you just said it now too. Is that something that is a little bit more difficult for? I know as a teenager, it was tough for me to see sort of the little things and not focus on the big picture. Is that something that you've seen sort of shift in the kids as well, these young men and women, is that they're looking at these little baby steps, and it doesn't have to be a gigantic growth all at once, and they have time to do that and in the space to do that.
Right. It's never easy to take a kid that comes from kind of a shaky or rough home life and ask them to change who they are in 6 hours of the day when they're at home for the other 18. But when you take that kid and bring them to a facility like a Wolf Connection and the kids are challenged and they overcome struggle together, it allows them to realize that people are out to help and to help them make growth, as opposed to point the finger and make them feel like they have something to be ashamed of. And so they embrace that and are more and more willing to push themselves as a result.
Have there been any of the activities or anything that's been done through the programs over the years that you felt sticks out the most with any of the students that talk about the program when they come back and you guys start to have these conversations? Is there anything that sticks out to them over the years that starts to come up more and more?
I have students that still have their stones from years back that they pick at Wolf Connection, and these stones are a reflection of their being at the facility. They take these stones as a reminder of the Wolf principles that they are to carry with them into the coming weeks, and they hold on to those like it's like gold to them. Wow. And it means a lot. I think the kids also really appreciate some of the accomplishments, like the 2-story tree house, the 50-foot suspension bridge, all the little things, the rescue trailer for the wolves that we help paint and put together, building emergency shelters out of bamboo, and these are all skills and things that the kids never thought they could do. And these are things that I hear over and over again in the conversation with the kids of old.
So do you feel like the lessons that the kids that are coming here has trickled into the rest of the culture of the school, or is it staying mostly, individual?
I think what the kids have learned at Wolf Connection has also, we as a staff have kind of incorporated in our regular routine as far as expectations and level of support that we give the kids. And so the principles, as well as some of the way of communication and the therapeutic approach, these are all things that we've incorporated in our out of the box methods at the campus. And so Wolf Connection lives at Phoenix, whether the students that have graduated are there or not. And so the new kids coming in, they'll get a taste of that and will be more familiar, when their opportunity comes to go to Wolf Connection.
So amazing.
And it feels like there's been an imprint. Do you feel that way, that the programs over the years has literally made a print on Phoenix for the foreseeable future, and that it's something that in the culture? Yeah,
you guys are amazing, and we really appreciate and as long as I'm with the district, we're gonna continue to fight to work with you guys and do what's good for kids.
No, we appreciate the fight and the advocacy and your support. I mean, you've been such a pivotal individual over there, JR, since I started doing programs, and I heard your name. I think I was probably here 2 or 3 months, and your name immediately came up once programs started. They go, "Oh, you have to meet JR," and you've been such just a beautiful individual for us. And we can't thank you enough for your time and your effort and everything that you've put in to this relationship. Before we go,
and I'll say too, I'll add that I've only met you a few times, and you can't see my face right now, but I've always appreciated your presence at the programs, and it's a helpful one. So that's so I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
No problem. It's well deserved. The one last question I will ask you that I have asked everybody who's come on is, when you hear the word wolf, what comes to your mind?
Family.
I love it. Short and sweet. That's awesome. JR, is there any website that anybody who's listening can go to see the work that Phoenix High School is doing? Anything where they can see sort of the alternative methods that are happening? Anything that we can promote, that we can guide people to after they listen to this?
Currently, Phoenix High School doesn't have a website, and we're moving in that direction. Unfortunately, we do not have anything, any web-based platform, but anything that information that anyone would like to inquire on, they're free to call us at the school. And I believe you guys have that number, and I can share that information with them.
Great.
Okay. Yeah, I will put that in the description if that's good with you, and I will let them call and inquire, and hopefully they'll get to talk to you and hear some of these stories. So, yeah. JR, thank you for giving us a moment of your time. Again, we hope to have you and the students back out here soon. And I think we all need a little bit more human connection once this is all over. So, again, thank you so much for spending time with us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you, sir.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. You guys take care, be safe, and tell everyone I said hello.
You as well.
Absolutely, we'll do. Yeah, stay healthy out there. How's to everybody out there, and we will talk to you again soon. Oh, later,
Bye-bye.
everybody.